Hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. We've got some headlines here on this DPI letter to MPS and Keith Posley. There is no doubt about it that DPI, this Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, I think they now admit to waiting until after the referendum to do what they should have done years ago. We've got all the receipts, of course. Dr. Keither, Deb to you, has been sending them, I should passive voice myself, sent the DPI countless messages stating just these problems. They ignored her. They punished her. They kicked her out of MPS. Ben Jones, the attorney for DPI, told me to manage my client's expectations and that what DPI does is follow up sternly worded letters with slightly more sternly worded letters. So I think that's where we're at. But here in the news now, they're just straight up admitting that all of this is a coordinated campaign to wait until after the referendum happened. Now that's happened, and now we're seeing all this action here. We've gotten that from multiple politicians here that we were waiting till after the referendum. That is, I guess, what we have to say on that. We'll read their letter first, their sternly worded letter. We're going to go on to their statement, and then we'll wrap it up with what we sent to them going back to 2000. I mean, this is an outrageous scam that they're trying to pull here. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the state of Wisconsin has actively suppressed people who have been trying to get the word out on this issue for years, and now only when it's convenient to them are we allowed to talk about it. And so no, that's not okay, Tony Evers. That's not okay, Mandela Barnes. That's not okay, Jill Underly. That's not okay, Ben Jones. We're going to call you out for the fact that you've allowed all of this to happen, and now are pretending, only now are pretending once you've secured the funding. So this is a scam on the taxpayers of the city of Milwaukee. I want to make that clear. That's the number one thing that's happening here, because again, all of these people here knew about this. The federal government about the Head Start thing. We've got receipts from that going back years. I mean, who do you think told them about that? So that's where we're at. That is where we're at. So let's start it out. Here is a sternly worded letter, number one. Jill Underly, an elected representative, elected position, office holder of the state of Wisconsin, sent to Keith Posley, an unelected position, nevertheless an officer of the state of Wisconsin via the city of Milwaukee. Dear Dr. Posley, this letter is a follow-up to multiple conversations and correspondence the Department of Public Instruction has had with you, your staff, regarding reporting and submittals of Milwaukee Public School District's statutorily required financial data. Well, we've been saying that for years. For years. They've known that for years. Not only are many required reports incredibly late, MPS has demonstrated a pattern of submitting incomplete data as well as requesting data changes without having the required documentation for the request. I mean, we've got, going back to Dr. Holliday's wife who used to work for Jill Underly, we've got messages of them communicating together and saying, hey, this is the point person. Dr. Holliday's wife is the point person for MPS, and she's going to have all these conversations. I mean, we've got documents that say that there's communications from DPI, and the person that's handling it is Dr. Holliday's wife for MPS, and that they're trying to get things in alignment. I mean, this is not credible. I'm trying to tell you that we've got the receipts that can show you that this is not credible. And I think we've already showed you so much of this before. MPS continues to fail to provide key financial data. As of today, MPS has not submitted the following recount of financial data, some of which is more than 8 months overdue. Auditor aid certification, auditor fund balance, annual reports, district audited financials, certified budget data. I guarantee you that this list could be a lot longer, and they're just doing this. For example, it's clear that there was attempts to audit MPS prior to the referendum, but it was also clear that there was a decision to delay those attempts. Okay? All of this now, why is the government, this is the main question that this video is going to ask you, is why is the government doing this today as opposed to before the referendum when they had all this available to them before the referendum? They're going to tell on themselves, is my guess, because they often do. The DPI relies on the above referenced data to complete 2 school aid reports, namely the June final general aid report. Well, it didn't matter before, the July 1st general school aid estimates. In addition, special education and school age parent payment relies on data from the annual report. Oh, poor DPI. In an effort to collect the missing financial data from MPS, DPI staff have been meeting with MPS quarterly since April 2023. Then monthly as of February. They've been meeting with them since before that. I mean, come on. Then weekly as of March 15th of 2024, and now daily as of May 2024. I mean, I can tell you that I personally have discussed, I think back as 2022, many, if not all of these issues with Ben Jones, Chief Legal Counsel, for the Department of Public Instruction. And again, his response was that I should manage my clients' expectations because DPI is an organization that follows up sternly worded letters with more sternly worded letters, slightly more sternly worded letters. So you'll forgive me if I'm not feeling very confident about these statements. As we discussed, failure to submit the missing financial data directly impacts DPI's ability to begin its work on the June 2024 Financial General Aid Report. I've got an email here from Debbie Keither to Ben Jones on September 1st of 2022 saying, "Thank you for following up. I plan to have the team dissect your comments so that we can follow up as indicated if more questions arise. We will happy to be to direct them to you or others as you have indicated." Through open records requests, it has been noted that the fiscal responsibility of the district, per their response, is the superintendent and the chief financial officer. That's Martha Kreitzman. Okay. We've got detailed list about the curriculum problems they've known all about the MPSU fraud since going back to 2022 is my understanding, at least. We could go on and on and on here. Why they've picked Head Start to be the thing to actually threaten to reduce funds, because there's no way in my mind are they going to reduce funds to MPS. I think this is all a sham. Everything about this, in my opinion, is a complete sham to do something, to create a condition that they wanted, that they've already negotiated behind the scenes. So they want to do something to MPS. I'm not clear exactly what this is, and this is all a precursor to a sham. And again, the sham is on the taxpayers because they, of course, waited until they got through the referendum, the $254 million referendum, before they did this. That, I think, that to me, in my mind, is the crime here. Second, based on the information and the data MPS submitted to date, there will likely be a significant reduction in state aid payments for MPS in the 2024-25 fiscal year. This reduction is the result of MPS errors and reported to... See, I mean, I've had straight up conversations on this subject with DPI people, and they're saying that they wouldn't do that because they don't want to deprive MPS of funding. So how did that decision, who made that decision, and when was it made? And is the public aware of how that decision was made? Did the public have any input? Is this a democratic process that's going on here? Or is this Democrats simply making up a decision behind the scenes? In order for DPI to complete its financial aid report, DPI will be forced to use what it considers the most accurate data submitted by MPS. Using this unaudited data as a temporary measure needed to avoid disrupting DPI's applications. They must have got caught out in the federal, when the federal Head Start issue happened. Too poor DPI. I don't have any love lost for DPI for several reasons, but mostly it's because They are, in my opinion, explicitly anti-teacher, explicitly anti-worker, and pro-district. And while school districts definitely have their place, they are not the be-all and end-all of the Department of Public Instruction. And they have duties to the teachers, they have duties to the pupils, they have duties to parents, and so forth. And also they have duties to the district. But they act as an arm of the district, and I find that to be reprehensible. For example, did you know that DPI only has gone after teachers? It's never, ever gone after any district at any time. It could not produce, as far as I understand, any information that said that it had ever taken any corrective action against the district. We can show plenty of times when it's yanked teachers' licenses, but never a time when it's actually done something to a district. And here, it's just threatening to do something here. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I recall, I've never seen them. It's my understanding that that's what their answer was under oath, but I could be wrong. Second, MPS must submit a corrective action plan that is approved by DPI. This corrective action plan must specify how MPS plans to commit and submit all past due financial reports, and how MPS will meet all future financial report deadlines, including changes and improvements to staffing, internal control. See, we've made these issues to them. I mean, we've discussed these issues on this site. Bruce Almighty, for example, has detailed all of this going back months and months and months ago. We've played secret recordings to discuss that everybody knows what the problem is, that they're not doing anything about it. To ensure corrective action will be successful, DPI strongly recommends MPS hire external financial consultant as soon as possible to assist the district in developing. How about instead of getting somebody external, why don't you fire everybody that's internal and get somebody that's competent in their place? Maybe that's my suggestion. I just, everything I hear about that sounds to me like a wrecking ball. That's what that sounds like, and not to the benefit of the workers or the pupils. Nothing in that sentence to me sounds to be pupil-centric. This letter does not sound to be pupil-centric. This letter seems to be covering our butts. That's what it sounds to me. In summary, staff from DPI has and will continue to be, come on. Let me rewrite that sentence and I'll read it out loud. In summary, staff from DPI has and will continue to be available to assist MPS in reviewing submitted data. I would read that sentence to say that although we have led you to believe that you don't have to submit any data because we've never held you accountable, we're thinking about possibly doing it now. Continuing to wait for MPS to submit its missing financial data jeopardizes the timing of aid reports, negatively impacting every Wisconsin school district. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter. John W. Johnson, Deputy State Superintendent. That's Jill Underley. Period. The end. That's Jill Underley. Okay. So we've got that. Let's go to the news article here. All right. We got an article written here by Harm Van Hoosen. This is on TMJ. That's Channel 4 Milwaukee. That's from May 30th here. And there are several quotes in here that I want to share with you. Number one, this is again from Sachin Cheda, Executive Director, but this is the spokesperson here. Since sending the letter was an extreme move one department wasn't prepared to take earlier this year when Milwaukee voters were considering a more than $250 million school funding referendum. Let's read that again. Executive Director of the Department of Public Instruction said sending the letter was an extreme move, one the department wasn't prepared to take earlier this year when Milwaukee voters were considering a more than $250 million school funding referendum. So to read that, put that another way, the Department of Public Institutions knew exactly what the issue was, knew that they didn't have correct financial information, but allowed the voters of Milwaukee to vote in a sham election without giving them and purposely withheld that information from them. I wonder if the governor was involved. Let's find out. And I wonder if, because we've wondered this plenty of times, if the Democratic Governor Tony Evers and Mandela Barnes, Mandela Barnes, the lieutenant governor, spoke on behalf of Posley, because Posley couldn't get his words out, on the date of the referendum and thanked the voters of the city of Milwaukee. So let's just see if there's any coordination there. Maybe there is. Because remember, we, meaning Deliberate Indifference Wisconsin, Debbie Keither, has alerted to DPI of many, if not all of these issues, and certainly financial mismanagement within Milwaukee Public Schools going back to at least 2022, if not 2021, and DPI refused to do it and told me so. So that's my firsthand information here. I can report that to you. Once again, prior to the April referendum, we weren't in a position where our expectations that they weren't going to be able to file the required financial information. That doesn't seem credible in the slightest. In the slightest, based on his previous letters, because they say that they're meeting with them on a weekly basis back in April. That's not credible in the slightest. And look how he uses this double negative. Prior to the April referendum, we weren't in a position where expectations were that they weren't going to be able to file the required financial information. Okay, if you believed that they were going to be able to do it, show us how. So somebody should probably go public records them for all documents that show that they had an expectation that they believed that MPS was going to file this prior to the referendum. That's what I would want to see, because I don't believe that for a second. On a practical level, this means that they, meaning MPS, has a week or two to put forward a plan that we can have confidence in, Cheda said. That's me paraphrasing there. Here's a report from Dewey Strobel, a Republican lawmaker in Wisconsin. These reports were due last September, and here we are. We're almost in June. These reports aren't done. I mean, we've really got to question the capability of MPS to behave as a school district, he said in an interview. All right, but here I think is the kicker here, and thank you, Tony Evers, and your spokesperson, Brett Kodaback. Cudaback, you tell me. Really, they released a statement. Here's the full statement. The governor and our office have been in contact with MPS and DPI and are urging them to work together to reach a resolution quickly and avoid further financial impacts. MPS is our state's largest school district, and no one, Republican lawmakers included, Ben Hitchcock Cross, Deliberate Indifference, all of the people who fight for holding MPS accountable in the state institutions. I'm hearing Department of Workforce Development. Let's read that again. No one, including the Department of Workforce Development, should be rooting for the failure of a district that serves thousands of Wisconsin kids or seizing this moment to bank political talking points. I mean, should we be feeling that that's a message to us? Because it sure seems like the state of Wisconsin has gone out of its way to shut us down and tell us to shut up. We'll get into that. Believe me, we always have receipts. But that sentence, and I'll read it again. No one, Republican lawmakers included, should be rooting for the failure of a district that serves thousands of Wisconsin kids or seizing this moment to bank political talking points. I'm going to rewrite that sentence for him. I, Tony Evers, when I was the head of the Department of Public Instruction, failed the citizens of Milwaukee by not holding MPS accountable back then. That's what that statement should have said. Tony Evers is as much responsible for this situation as Posley and Jill Underly. And there's no question that there is a connection between Posley Tony Evers and DPI, because they're saying that right there themselves. The governor and our office have been in contact with MPS and DPI and ERD. I added that. And are urging them to work together to reach resolution quickly and avoid further financial impacts for MPS. The governor and our office have been in contact with MPS and the ERD and are urging them to work together to reach resolution quickly and avoid further financial impacts. True statement? Not a true statement. You tell me. MPS is our state's largest public school district, and no one, Republican lawmakers included, should be rooting for the failure of a district that serves thousands of Wisconsin kids or seizing this moment to bank political talking points. Governor Evers is focused on our kids and minimizing any impacts on them, which should be everyone's focus right now. Doing what is best for our kids. Let me rewrite that for him. Governor Evers is focused on our bureaucrats right now and minimizing any impacts on the bureaucrats, which should be everybody's focus right now. Doing what's best for our bureaucrats. I think that is probably the more honest statement. Wouldn't you agree? All right. Thanks for sticking with us. As always, we will keep you informed. Thank you to Deb Keither and others who brought this issues to the attention of DPI some years ago. No thank you to Ben Jones and DPI for failing to act.